As a member of the board of the UCC Media Justice Ministry, I'm delighted to introduce this year's recipient of the Everett Parker Award, Jessica J. González. More than 15 years ago, back in the early days of her legal career, Jessica began attending this event when she was a fellow at the Georgetown Law Center. So as it should be, that the people who start off as learners become our leaders. A big part of Jessica's story is where she has traveled over the course of her life. Anyone who has been in meetings with Jessica, as I have been here in Washington, will know that she comes from a proud union family, that before earning her law degree, she was a high school teacher in Los Angeles, and that there was a time in her life when she qualified for support under the FCC's Lifeline program to help her purchase the telecommunications services she needed. These experiences have given Jessica the power to see with clarity when something is wrong, when it needs to be fixed, and when it is time to say stop and no more. When it is time, se hace el camino por andar. There was no one who you would rather have with you when you were planning strategy, protesting in the street, heading into the C-suite of major corporations, or into the halls of Congress. Jessica has been to all of those places, and when she comes out of those rooms, which often don't want to admit her or anyone else who might not toe the line, the people inside have, at least, heard the truth, because Jessica is willing to say it, and not just the truth, but the truth backed up with facts, law, strategy, a track record of success, and an honest and matter-of-fact demeanor that can't be ignored. Jessica is the co-CEO of Free Press, and before that, she was the Executive Vice President and General Counsel of the National Hispanic Media Coalition. She has been a champion of net neutrality and media diversity and a forceful opponent of media consolidation. She co-founded Change the Terms, building a coalition of more than 60 civil and digital rights groups seeking to address online hate speech. And she helped lead the Stop Hate for Profit boycott, seeking to persuade online companies to take more responsibility for deterring hate speech on their platforms. And this is just the top of the list of her many accomplishments. For the justice work she has been doing her whole career, we are delighted to recognize Jessica with this year's Everett Parker Award.
Good morning. It's really early Pacific time. Wow, no one's surprised that I'm getting a little emotional because that's what I do. I'm just so deeply honored by this. 15 years ago, I was sitting in the back of the room at a table. Cheryl had invited me because we were doing some legal work for the church. UCC was actually my first client when I got to Georgetown Law, and I was a fellow at a clinic there, and we were working on trying to prevent Rupert Murdoch from buying more TV stations, I believe. I'm also just really deeply humbled to be sharing the stage today with such amazing forces for good as Maya Wiley and T.L. Lewis. And I'm thinking back to when I went to that first luncheon it used to be at the National Press Club, and Reverend Parker was still with us. And I remember clearly thinking, what an amazing legacy that he holds. So as a lawyer in media and tech, UCC is a very special organization to me, because UCC fought for standing, which is a really nerdy thing to talk about at a thing like this. But essentially, they fought for the people's right to have a say in the decisions that shape our media. And my organization, Free Press, which was founded long after UCC in 2003, really exists on the premise that the people should shape our media system so that it serves us, the people, over corporate interests. And that work really wouldn't have been possible without the trailblazing work of UCC and Reverend Parker. So I want to thank you and honor you for that work that continues today. Why do we do this work? It's because we understand that the media is powerful. It shapes beliefs, opinions. It actually impacts how people act and move about in the world. It can be harnessed for good and for evil. Our job is to ensure that it serves the public interest, human and civil rights, and democracy. And here we are at a pivotal moment in our country's history. I would argue that democracy went all the way to the brink last year. Are we going to have a multiracial democracy that's just? I don't think we've answered that question, right? Like, when I hear from scholars and others who've studied this deeply, there's no promise of that. And our role in the media justice field is to ensure that we're building a media system that is serving truth, justice, and democracy. Are we going to achieve a peaceful transition to a multiracial democracy? Are we going to succumb to white supremacists and authoritarians who are using our media system to amplify lies, to sow chaos, and to undermine democratic institutions? That's the question, and I'm not sure what the answer is yet. And sometimes I feel a little scared about that. And when I start to feel scared, I think of all the inspiring people in this room and online who are thinking deeply about this. I'm thinking of all the women of color who are leading amazing campaigns and policy efforts to build an anti-racist, pro-feminist media system. And I feel inspired. I think of you, Cheryl. Talk about a humble public servant. I'm not going to stop. I'm going to say a little more about that because Cheryl has been a great mentor to me, but I also see her doing that across this space, mentoring young people, reaching out. It is a quiet effort. It is not a boastful effort. It's not there to take credit. And I really don't think you get enough credit for how you are building this field. So I want to thank you. It's really incredible. I have a lot of mentors in this room today. I'm not going to shout you all out because you don't all work for UCC, but you know who you are. You're the reason why I'm in this field, and you inspire me. There are so many incredible people doing work, and that's what gives me hope. There's so many of us who are not doing it for the fame or the money. There isn't any. It's, kind of humble. But we're coming to the work fueled by the inspiration from our ancestors. And for me personally, I'm thinking about what I hand off to my kids. I don't want to hand them a mess. So I do this work with deep affection for them and for all of you and for our country. I believe we can build something that's never existed before. I believe that we will win. It may not be in my lifetime, but I believe we will win. And I commit to living up to this deep honor that the United Church of Christ has bestowed upon me today by moving with love, by moving with purpose, to hold down the small role that I play in building a media system that serves truth, justice, and multiracial democracy. So thank you.